All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Meeting Protocol Monthly Podcast, where we chat with some of the coolest people in the business and bring you useful and relevant information about what's happening in the world of meeting planning. I'm Dora Figueredo, as always, the head of events and education at Meeting Protocol, coming to you from New Jersey. This month, you're going to hear from the entire Meeting Protocol crew, which is not as impressive as it sounds because it's just me and Ed. So Ed Byers is with us, the founder of Meeting Protocol, who has a lot of impressive letters after his name. CHRP, which is Certified Human Resources Professional, CMP, Certified Meeting Professional, which a lot of us are looking to be or are already, and CAE, the Certified Association Executive. In addition to running Meeting Protocol, Ed has also managed the Special Olympics, which is so cool. I would love to do that someday in my career. Is an instructor at Seneca College and also founded and runs CanRev Collaborative, which works with charities, associations, and nonprofits to increase their revenue and impact. So thank you so much for being our special guest today, Ed. Tell us where you're joining from today and what got you into event planning.
Right on. Thanks, Dora, and thanks for having me. Although it feels mildly strange that it's the two of us just regularly chatting anyway, so this is great. So I'm in cold and very rainy Toronto at the moment, which is fine, but we haven't had a lot of snow, so that's okay, I guess, for now. But yeah, thanks for picking me this month to chat with.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being on. So I'm just going to go right into my questions for you.
Yeah.
A huge part of your career has been working with associations. So tell us how associations work, because it wasn't until I started working with you that I ever even thought about association events and their importance in the events industry.
It's funny in the association world. That's every time I talk to any students at Seneca or if I go my alma mater, Ryerson University in Toronto, I talk about association management. And coming out of university, I had no idea that associations really existed. I was like, oh, this is like a thing, like I guess, like I kind of landed there. I think that a lot of people don't really, nobody goes into school, I think, be like, I want to be in associations. People are like, yeah, I want to be like a doctor, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a police officer, or I want to be a paramedic, or whatever. But it's this sort of career path of associations. Any association executive I talk to, it's been not a linear path at all. A lot of association folks that are executive directors or CEOs of associations have come sort of that way from their field. So if you're the Canadian or American Association of you know uh, pediatricians or something, typically it's a pediatrician that will have gotten to a point in their career and they say, I want to now manage this association. So it's kind of it's a long story long on how I got there, but I finished Ryerson in 2009. In the association world, it at that point and we might get to this question anyway, but um I was an event junkie. I was like, I want to do events. I have to do events. Where do I go? And so I ended up flying out to Vancouver. This is just before the 2010 Winter Olympics, and I share this story a lot. But I just took my resume out, flew out there, handed it to anybody that would take it. It was pouring rain. I went into the VANOC, like the organizing committee office. I found it on Google Maps, took my resume there. It was pouring rain. My stuff is soaked. I got to the front, and the person at the front said, sorry, we don't take resumes here. You have to do it online. I was like, just please take my resume. Like, I don't care. Throw it in the garbage. Do whatever you want. I trekked all the way here from, Kingston, Ontario, where I'm originally from. Just take my resume and throw it in the garbage. Anyway, long story short, I ended up getting, I took my resume to the employment agency, and a week after I got back, I got a call, and the guy said, your resume landed on my desk. I love the paper that it was printed on. Believe it or not, that's what he said to me. This is we have a job opening for you. It's in Whistler. It was a fantastic job. And so I did that, and I started, that's sort of my foray into really sort of events and post-graduation. Did a number of events, and then after I did Vancouver Olympics, London Olympics, Special Olympics, and then I landed at an association. So I am circling back to your original question, I promise. But I landed at an association, a commercial real estate association, and that was the first real association that I'd worked for, and I did all of the events. So I ran their CEO retreats all over North America. I started an educational program for commercial real estate individuals. And so I loved it. I was like, this is a really great industry. This is a really great sort of segment. I didn't realize that every sector has an association. And so, like regular businesses, they're managed very similar. They're like running a small business. They're managed the same way, except they're a not-for-profit. So there's some sort of taxation things and nuances to running an association versus an actual business. But fundamentally, it's the same kind of thing. It's just your mission. Your mission is a little bit different, and the work that you do is not to say other work isn't meaningful. In some cases, it can be very impactful and meaningful. And so I found this sort of world of associations that, wow, this is really cool. This is a place that values me and values my time and values, I found it to be not as stressful necessarily as, the high pace of corporate events or anything like that. It was a little bit more it allowed for flexibility for me to start a family and these kinds of things. So I'll stop there because I could just keep going. So
That's really interesting. All this time we've been working together, I actually didn't know all that. So that was fascinating to me too.
yes.
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in association events that you think are here to stay?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw this post the other day on LinkedIn and it kind of resonated with me. It was like the 2019, I think it was like a meme. It was like 2019 association events are a lot like 2023 association in-person events. So during the pandemic, everybody was like, virtual's here. We saw the rise of all of these virtual platforms, and now we're sort of seeing a lot of them, as we expected, kind of disappearing or reformatting or rechanging and all these things. So I think the biggest thing for association events is a lot of small associations, these are their anchors. Like COVID really hurt them because like that's their biggest source of revenue is their annual conference or their big event or their trade show. So we had a lot of lessons from COVID, and I'm surprised to see that associations haven't maybe, I think a lot of have embraced this. The hybrid business is crazy because you're running two simultaneous events. We know all of the costs and the work associated with two, but it's interesting to see as 2023 gets started, any of those takeaways that we've had from COVID. We'll see how associations start implementing them and plugging them in as we've gone back to in person. But what I'm seeing is that it, high level, it's kind of, it's back obviously, but I haven't seen a lot of, this is why this post resonated with me. I haven't seen a ton of new sort of innovation, and not that's I'm not picking on the association sector. I would say just generally, like and maybe that, I don't know. I feel like we've gone back to kind of the way we've always done it. We maybe spiced it up a little bit, but I don't know. And I don't know what the solution is, but the association events are integral to the association's financial success. They're integral to member engagement, member success. So when it comes to events and associations, they're so intertwined, and it really is the backbone of a lot of associations.
Do you think that associations tend to have less innovation than other types of events? And do you think it's like a budget issue or?
No, I don't think they'd have less innovation, but if there is, we always joked at one association I worked with, we have a champagne taste on a beer budget. And so I don't think so, because the beautiful thing about associations is that you get to pull in like the association expertise, so you can see what other associations are doing irrespective of sector, but you also get to see what your sector is doing. So for example, if I'm in a real estate association, I can see what the real estate conferences look like, and then I can also go to association conferences and see what other sectors are doing. So in my mind, it just breeds innovation because you can see what your own people are doing, but you also have the ability to go and see what others are doing as well. So no, I don't think I think associations really have an opportunity and leverage in a way that other sectors don't. But yeah, budget constraints for sure are a lot of that can be a problem or an issue for any business, but in particular associations, yeah, they're not for profits, and a lot of them, they have to manage that budget. The biggest chunk of money from associations is staff and salaries. So you got to, you're balancing that. How much can we spend on our event? We want to hire people and we want to do all of these things. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I'm going to switch gears here because this is all very interesting, but I'm sure you have an association colleague that I can do like a full interview with
Yeah,
on another podcast. So
totally. Yeah.
About that later. I actually want to talk about meeting protocol itself. So when you first started meeting protocol, what did you envision its role being in the event planner industry, and has that changed?
Yeah, when I first started it, it was I would in 2015, I guess. I think it was 2015 or 2014. I took my CMP in 2014, and I didn't pass on the first time, and I was really discouraged and frustrated. And I thought I should be able to pass this thing. What happened? And I had done a steady study prep course, in 2014, and it didn't. I didn't feel like it gave me good event knowledge, but I didn't feel like it really prepped me for the actual exam. So as a need, out of a need for me to sort of say, I looked around and said, I don't see anything out there that's really prepping people for this exam. So I created my own. And so I created my own in 2015 and slowly chugged along. And then you and I met, and the rest is history. But I would say in 2014, that's where it started, was offering CMP prep courses. And now together we've grown it in offering training and education to event planners and meeting professionals across the globe. We have people from all over, people from the US, from Canada, from Europe, from Asia, and so it's a really cool thing to see the growth. So it's sort of already exceeded my expectations, but it's exciting. It's amazing. We get to work with the best of the best to pull content together. We get, we've, as you know, we've launched a course with Courtney Stanley and the best sponsorship people and Channing, and you name it. That we have really the opportunity to pull in the best people for the best practitioners doing their own thing, and we get to pull them in and allow them to take a breath from their daily life and provide some insight for people that are looking for it. So
Yeah. What is coming up in the next year or two for meeting protocol?
I should ask you the same thing. Yeah, I think the continuance of the stuff that we're already doing, the CMP prep course, we've launched our new marketing course. We've got a couple other courses in the works. We have one that we're working on around inclusion right now, so stay tuned for that. And then we're working on a CMP mock exam that will simulate the actual mock exam uh, for a sitting of the actual CMP exam. So yeah, no, well, we're firing on all cylinders, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I am super excited to release that mock CMP exam. I can't wait. That was one of the hardest things for me when I was studying. There's like 100 exams, there's 100 practice tests, but I couldn't find any one thing that simulated sitting down for the exam. And so I'm really excited that we have a full length exam coming out.
It's amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. And for the final question, my usual closing
Oh,
question, share a
yeah.
memory or experience from a super cool event that you've been a part of, either as an attendee or a producer.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been very fortunate in my career in working in a number of different events. I think one of the most fulfilling and the most rewarding events that I got to work on was Special Olympics. It was amazing. We saw athletes from all over come and participate in the Special Olympic Games. Like the Olympic, Paralympic, and Special Olympic journey is like, how do you beat it? Especially when you're rallying around your own country or city or province or whatever. So there's too many memories to share. I've had it with the Commercial Real Estate Association. I've had the opportunity to plan some. We did an event in Washington, and we ended up getting the Canadian embassy somehow. I think I sort of finagled the person there. Like, you don't really, it's not like they don't really rent their event space. So it was election night, and we were in the ambassador suite with 50 people on election night with
Wow.
with the ambassador, drinking wine and hanging out. And it's like you kind of look around and go, wow, like, as an event professional, you pulled that off. Like, you're doing it, and you sort of finagled your way in and got this event to happen. And you're hanging with the ambassador. You think, yeah, like, as meeting and event professionals, like, it's what a ride this career, like this journey is for us. Like, it really is. You get the opportunities that most people don't get to see.
Yeah.
So it's and talking with event people, event profs or event people, it's like the best conversations are to be had, because it's like, yeah, we were doing either A, it's like really cool, amazing events, or B, it's like the total screw ups of things that have happened that you're like, because like the beautiful thing about events is that what I love about it is that you're making decisions like that. There's no time to think. There's no time to be like, well, let's go 6 weeks from now and we're still talking about the same thing. That's the beautiful thing. When you're in the moment, you got to make decisions. And so, and things, there's always like, there's always some sort of hiccup. And so, not that you want it, but like that in trading stories with event profs, it's always kind of fun because you're like, oh my God, I got here and this thing happened and I didn't know what to do. And like, I just kind of made it work. And like, somebody didn't show up, and I've had speakers not show up, and you're calling them and you're like, what am I going to do? And like, you got to thrive on that. Like if that really stresses you out, then it's not probably the right career path for you. But sorry, long-winded answer on my favorite moment, but there's just so many to count, and that's the beautiful thing about this sector for sure.
Yeah. Sometime in 2017, maybe, one of my coworkers, at the time I was working on a team of 6 people, and one of my fellow event planners sent all of us a link to, I want to say it was a Forbes article, like the top 10 most stressful jobs. And event planner was on there, alongside like firefighter and police.
Doctor, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
doctor, yeah. And I was like, this job like truly is stressful, because you have to plan for everything. And then like one time I had an event that had a landslide followed by 2 earthquakes. And it was like, we were in a place that doesn't normally get earthquakes. And then I was like, I'm going to plan for an earthquake everywhere I go, no matter what now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember, my friends and family, especially because at that job in particular, I did a lot of traveling. I was like going to tons of countries. It was an amazing job. I was like super, super fortunate to have that job. I had a lot of fun. But at the same time, it was so, I really attribute a lot of my gray hairs to that job for sure. Because there are so many stressful moments, and you have to keep a room of, sometimes upwards of like 1,000 people happy. And there's a lot of demands on you and your time. So even though it may seem like quite a posh industry, it is pretty tough. And I thank Forbes for recognizing that.
Yeah. Somebody has to recognize all the hard work that's being done. So yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ed. This has been a really great conversation. And thank you, dear listener and Meeting Protocol fan, for checking out this episode. We hope you stick around with Meeting Protocol to see all of the fun things that we are going to offer throughout 2023 and beyond. And don't forget to check out the website, meetingprotocol.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter that includes links to all of our new podcasts, a CMP tip of the month, as well as tons of resources for all things related to meeting professionals in CMP. Thanks.
Right on. Thanks, Tora. And thanks everybody for listening. And we'll see you sometime in 2023.
Yeah.